Welcome to the Divine Mess, a sanctuary where the dance of the empowered masculine and the divine feminine unfolds in all its glory. Join us as we delve into the heart of these cosmic energies, exploring their attributes and the profound impact they have on our lives. From the raw power of the masculine to the nurturing embrace of the feminine, we uncover the balance that leads to a life of abundance and joy. Our hosts, Kurti Deva Perriman and Teena Ryan, are your guides on this spiritual journey who blend science with soul to offer practical wisdom for harnessing your divine energy. We celebrate the beauty and imperfection, embracing the chaos of life's journey as a catalyst for growth. The Divine Mess isn't just a podcast, it's a movement towards wholeness and self-expression. So come laugh with us, cry with us, and grow with us. Every episode is an invitation to explore the depths of your being and to live out loud, authentically, and unapologetically. Subscribe and join our community of seekers as we support each other in this extraordinary, messy adventure we call life. Well, good morning to another divine episode of The Divine Mess. I am one of your hosts. If you've not joined our world, my name is Teena Marie, and this for the first time, an intuitive prophet, and I guide people through transformation to see the divine light of their soul, which is a lot. It's taken a long time to get there. My blessed friend who co-hosts with me has been exceptionally patient with me over the last 3 years, finally getting an opportunity to birth that and say that out loud and fly the freak flag, which we think it is when we're dealing in this sort of space. So I've had a couple of weeks of big insightful moments. So today is a little bit about sharing some of those insightful moments and, as usual, having a catch up with my delightful friend. So I will hand over to him and he can say as little or as much as he likes as he likes to this morning. So good morning to you, my good friend. How are you?
Yeah, you can go on. That's okay.
I could go on. Way, come on. This is a back and forth. You know that.
No, but thank you, Tina. I've been looking forward for this catch up and also to share the wisdom that you have been remembering, I would say, for
It's
the
a good
past
word for it.
couple of weeks. We have known about this for a long time. Like this is has been coming, and for people who are tuning in for the first time, I'm Deva. I'm a cosmic alchemist, and like every week, I do catch up with Tina, and we do have some woo-woo conversation. So welcome to this woo-woo conversation because it's all about the learnings, the lesson, like we have, like we did in the last week as well, the lesson of 2024. But I think that there's more coming, and
Oh.
there's always more to discover. Like we always send memes to each other on Instagram. Say, "Oh no, not another one." Oh, there we go
Oh, I've
again.
already seen that one. Here we
Yeah,
go again.
here we go again. But I will leave the mic to Tina because she has, well, a little bit to share. I would say just a little bit, just to get
just
it
a
going.
just just a small fraction, but this is back and forth. So I'd love for you to dive in.
Of course.
Um, I did 100 hours worth of personal development over 7 days, which most people would go, oh, sweet Jesus, dear Lord, no, I don't want to do that. And don't get me wrong, there's resistance in all of it. But this, for me, this year has been a massive shift from about July, I think, when I got started, when I was introduced to the gentleman that I've been working with, and a friend introduced me, and it was on the basis of understanding wealth creation. So because my partner and I have, you know, only recently been together, 6 years, that, that's only recent really, in the scheme of things, just a small amount of time. but only in the last 18 months have we been cohabitating in the same space and raising children and thinking about the type of life that we want to lead. And a lot of it comes down to, you know, and I think particularly for both of us, is providing a warm, safe, loving environment for our kids, you know, to have that home base for them to come home to. And when you, I'm sure, assuming a lot of the listeners have possibly been through it too, when you've gone through a separation and a divorce, the 20 plus years that you've worked hard together, you know, you get money, but then you don't understand the energetics of money. And because you've come from a family where money was a scarcity, was a, you know, a very slim resource, you grip onto it so incredibly tight because you don't want to lose it, but at the same time you don't know who to trust in teaching you how to operate with that level of money as well. So big lesson learned for me is fortune gained, fortune lost. So now we are in the process of rebuilding, and within the first, I think, sort of 6 to 8 weeks of utilizing the principles that we've been learning, we've got money for school fees, we've got money for all our bills, we've got money in the bank for our trip to Paris, we've got all of these things that when we were looking at it on the surface didn't seem very possible. But now that we're treating money like a woman. We're giving her a safe spot to land. We're giving her little buckets that she can share her wealth and her wisdom to, and she feels safe and comfortable with us because it's the energy of money. Money needs to feel like it has a comfortable space to land, and the people that are handling it know how to handle it and know how to take care of it. So it's given us a great deal of ease in the relationship, and not thinking that I have to ask for something or he has to ask for something. He has his money, I have my money, but at the same time our money is joint. And from that, then it was this leap into understanding about relationships. So the next section of it was, we all, and I suppose it was interesting because we all carry these things from childhood where we expected people to, you know, my dad was loving and he was this and he was that, or my mum was cold-hearted and she didn't really give a shit. And it's all based on perception, right? Because as the beautiful humans that we are, everything that we see is in a singularity, but it's not. It's in duality. It's the yin and the yang of life, but we don't record it in our memory storage as both. We can only record it as one thing in that given moment, and it creates these beautiful little records in our head of how we thought our life was. But what we were introduced to in this section of our learning was that it's actually not what we thought it was. And in any given situation, whether your parents were extremely loving to you or they treated you so abysmally you had to go and be somewhere else, or you were in a marriage that was so bad that you had to go and be somewhere else, in it was love. Amongst everything else, the primary basis for which all humans operate is love, and doing it within the best understanding that they have at any given point in time. So in that part, there was like, oh, so if my mother hadn't acted that way and kept me separate from my sister in treatment, or so it appeared to a 4-year-old child, I wouldn't be who I am. So once you go through the whole process of creating a new neural pathway about that relationship or about that given situation, it's literally like a brain explosion. Like, you cannot fathom the peacefulness that comes from creating this new neural pathway. It's don't know if anybody's ever experienced it, and sometimes you get to experience it in meditation where there's just silence. There's no gremlins creeping around in your brain. There's no worrying about tomorrow or the thing that you're doing next or what happened last week. There's just nothing. And it's a very disconcerting feeling because we're so used to having, literally feels like the cast of a movie and the crew and everybody else in your brain going all the time, and everybody's trying to converse at once. But after moving through this process of doing the checks and balances and going, well, first of all, sorry, one child. First of all, you've got to check, like if you said someone, for example, was unkind to you, or they were, how can you best describe it? If they disregarded your feelings, let's say you felt in that moment, the first check that you need to do is, where do you disregard people's feelings? So you get the mirror thrown straight back up in your face and going, okay, well, where have I done that? And who has borne witness to that event? And then it's going, okay, well, if they weren't going to disregard your feelings, if they did the complete opposite, if they were to be mindful of your feelings, how would that make you feel? So you've got to name the opposite of how they've behaved, and how would that make you feel? And then you've got to do all the checks, the positives and the minuses of them behaving in this positive light, and then all the checks and balances of them acting in the negative light. And then you've also got to throw in the end that from that learning, who benefited most from the skills and the attributes that you got from that event. And it's just provides so much more of a 360 on your life. And it's a great protocol to follow whenever you get pissed off or annoyed or frustrated with kids or with anybody else in your life. You can start to kind of do it in your head, but it's not until you actually go through the process. You have to make the process work better. And it happened on the last episode because I didn't quite get there when I was doing it out on the piece of paper. You need to have these tears of gratitude that literally for the process and for the new pathway to be created in your brain, you know, that separation of the pathway that you've always trodden and that new pathway to be born, there has to be tears of gratitude. And if you don't have tears of gratitude, you've not gone deep enough. You've not looked deep enough within yourself to appreciate what the scenario has given you. And so that just gave me really, it still took until the next step in the process for me to really appreciate my parents and where they've come from, and how they, you know, God bless them, they're just like any of us doing the best we can on any given day with the level of information that we have, and endeavoring for me now to raise my own inner 5-year-old how I best see that works for me. So to understand that my 5-year-old can no longer give me guidance, that she's not the best person to give me guidance. the best person to give me guidance is the 150-year-old version of myself. To look at what guidance would she be giving me in this situation now. Like, you're 50, you're only a third of the way through your life, honey. Everybody thinks they get to this point and stage in their life and it's time to hang up the towel and I'm going to retire and I'm going to put my feet up and I'm going to quit. Absolutely, utterly no way. There's just things that, you and I want to create for this little world that we're building, and what you want to create for your own life, and what I want to create not only for mine but my life with Cam and the kids, and helping to build that legacy for our children to understand that all of us want to take the red pill. Nobody wants to take the blue pill. Everybody wants to understand their own personal autonomy, and that the way in which government society endeavours to control the masses, and the way in which they do it through the stuff that comes through our screens and the things that we listen to on the radio and the news broadcasts and the food that they promote for people to eat, which, dear God, people stay on the outside of the supermarket, preferably in the fresh fruit and veg section. Maybe don't even go to the rest of the supermarket. We're not designed to eat all the stuff in the middle, because in this last section, and I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but it's just as things come to me, we were given a mental clarity diet, and this may scream against everybody's way of being. No coffee, no black tea, no bread, no sugar. What else? No rice, no pasta. Most people are going, oh dear God, how did you survive? White meat.
That's a yes for me.
That's a yes for you. White meat, white cheeses, so like feta, bocconcini, burrata, and vegetables. Fruit only for breakfast, because the fruit and veggies that are grown organically give us the water of life. So not only the water that you drink, but the water of life that comes from the fruit and the vegetables. And it's been interesting because I did it for the week leading up and the week of, and now this week I've just been experimenting a little bit and just kind of adding a few things in and waking up and feeling like I've got a hangover. And like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Guess that's one not for me. And I kind of know those things, but it was really interesting coming home during the course and opening my cupboard and seeing stuff in packets that, you buy muesli bars and, what you would consider health. Yeah. Well, just in terms of opening up the stuff that we would give the kids in their lunchbox, apart from a piece of fruit, and a sandwich or meatballs or whatever they want to take with them. It was just almost like this repulsion in my body to go, I just want to kind of clean everything out of the cupboards. But simply because I've started that process, it doesn't mean I need to inflict it on my children. But at the same time, I also need to be mindful that I want them to have clarity of thought, and I want them to start to understand that their energy and the way in which they move and shake in the world is severely impacted by what they're putting into their bodies and their ability to create beautiful things. Not only, we're in summer holidays now, so the kids have got 7 weeks off. Dear God, help us all. 7 weeks of the children hanging around. We're going to need to be very creative this summer holidays, because it's already skyrocketing temperatures here. So yeah, just to try and I get them more interested, because the two elder ones very interested in food. Two younger ones couldn't care about, excuse me, being in the kitchen and learning how to care for themselves. And I think it's really important, and particularly when you're raising more so raising men, that I want to raise men that can not only care for themselves, but care for the people that are in their external environment, by providing a meal and, sharing their table as well, like welcoming people in, and how can we create something that tastes really good and be able to sit and have really great conversations. Being able to, or knowing how to cook, I think is the kickstart of the journey for that. But I was saying to David before we started to record, we started talking right off the back about quantum physics in the beginning of the course, and all I could imagine was David's dad with this just really big grin on his face and going, "Welcome to the club," and just having a marvelous time with all of that. But it was interesting. We went through the whole life wheel of over the 7 days. So we went through finance day, we went through family day, we had sex day. That was very interesting, in understanding how we're all the same. So, side note, we all had to write down what our fantasies were. And we were told that, separate yourselves off, go find some personal space, write your fantasies down on the piece of paper. And everybody's like covering themselves up and like when you're, hiding the key secret to the lotto numbers, like everybody's writing everything down. And then our coach stands up and says, "Right, everybody, move off into your groups and you're all going to sit in a circle." And we're all looking at each other because one of the guys on our table's done this course. It was his third time. And just good for a refresher. And he had this massive grin on his face. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And the deal was that we all had to move around in a circle and share what we'd written on this piece of paper. And if we weren't sharing properly, or they felt that we weren't sharing properly, they were going to get our piece of paper and stand up and read it out to the group of 44 people in the room. And it's quite liberating, I must say. It's very, very liberating to be able to sit there and share that. So it was one of the key interesting moments that when we moved through, like everybody would pipe up through the day, someone would yell out, "I'm horny," and it would just move through the whole week, that anytime something came up where we had to give an expression of how something made us feel, "I'm horny," it was this thing throughout the week. So not only did we do sex day, there was relationship day. So looking at how our relationships impact our ability to fulfill our mission and our purpose here, but then also, how do our personal friendships, so there was friendship day basically, but then there was also like global social day. So how do we interact with other cultures, where, do we have a curiosity about, how other people move through their lives, and what their spiritual practices are, and what their thoughts are on God, or the grand organized design of what life is all about, and how we see energy and what it does for us, and what we can learn and what we can take away, because essentially it's all the same, and I think you and I have had those conversations before about spirituality and religion. Nothing's caused more wars than people's inability to see somebody else's point of view, all based on their concept of God, and it's an interesting conversation when you sort of go, well, what is God? Or what do you think God is? And can you touch God? You know, like where is so they got us to do this really interesting thing where we've had to stretch our arms out as wide as we can possibly stretch it, and now go to touch God. And so every time you've gone to touch God, you're retracting, like, because you're drawing your hands in. But the thing is, it's within you. Like, you're reaching outwards for something when you need to be reaching inwards to find the beauty and the divinity, because we are the expression. We are the expression of God in every single one of us, and we've all been put on the earth to see what it feels like to have this amazing journey as a human. You know, what does this particular meat suit feel like? You know, how does it operate? What's the experiences that you signed up for before you got into it, you know, before the soul stepped into it, you know, and zipped it up and went, yep, this one will do for me. You've signed up for everything that you have received so far, but don't forget, you're also creating it. You've got the power to create something so incredibly magical. But, you know, like, if you think all these experiences that you've had in your life are just shit, you're going to create shit. You know, and if you hang around with people that think life is shit, well, have a guess what you're going to get. You know, it's the same conversation we have with our boys all the time. It's just, you need to be really mindful of the people that you choose to spend time with, because they will have the greatest impact on your life and how you see it. You know, do they cause curiosity in you? Do they make you look at a bigger picture or want more for your life, you know? Or are you constantly catching up? You know, it was an interesting conversation that we had. Are you constantly catching up with people and you're talking about the same shit, just in a different format, or their kids are doing exactly the same thing, or their partner's doing exactly the same thing? If that's the case, you need to be a circuit breaker and go, I love you, but I've heard this story for the last 20 years. And you know what? I'm tired of it, because you're not doing anything about it. You're just complaining. You know, you're not actively looking to make a choice. But the thing is, what you have to realize is that by you making a choice, saying something, maybe not continuing that friendship, or maybe just diluting the volume of it for a little while until they get over their huff and maybe, oh, yeah, maybe I do complain a little bit, and oh, maybe I should be doing something about it. Go seek some new people. You know, go seek some new friendships. I don't know, say hi to the barista who makes your coffee in the morning. Ask them some questions about life. You know, how did you get here? You know, people love talking about themselves. Honestly, they really do. All you got to do is say hi to somebody. Say hi to somebody on the bus. You know, instead of putting your earphones in and staring at Instagram and doing sweet bugger all, have a conversation with somebody, because you might be enlightened, you know, or your higher self may want you to learn something. And this is the thing, we forget to pay attention to the signs and going, this week it has been nearly 40 degrees every day. And it's not opportune bicycle riding weather. So I have been given the opportunity to ride the bus. So there I go with my bright sequined handbag and my bright red shoes, and just to cause a little disruption in people's lives, because it looks like a disco ball's going off in the bus, because the sun hits my bag and it just creates a little bit of sunshine. So it's been the most fascinating couple of weeks, and I've learned some big things about myself, and I have begun to start a little accountability group with some friends. And do you know what's fascinating? The people that you think are going to be in it run faster than, honestly, it was just like, I want this coming year to be bloody amazing for all of us. And we all bring amazing skills to the table. And I'll explain why I started it in a minute. But the amount of people that have just gone, my word for the year is this, and that means I can't commit, which it's great because people obviously understand that is they're setting a boundary for themselves, which is okay. But I was surprised by who was in and who was out. And the reason for starting it is that we had business day where we had to create as much money as humanly possible in one day. And on our We group, I think we made $860,000 in a day. And so then we were given the task that if you could make that on one day, what could you do in 3 days? And so it was just this mad networking, emailing, text messaging, talking to everybody that we knew in order to sell the service that we had. And we ended up, including the 860, we did $3.3 million in 4 days. And so my thought was that if I invited all the women that I knew, and it's locally, like it's all the women that I know in Perth, it's not extending it out to anybody else online, which is my next step and stage to do that. I wanted to see what we could create. Like I was curious for people to come and go, in my life, this is the thing that drives me mental. And then it's like, okay, well, how can we as a group, as a collaborative, support you with that? What do you need? Do you need a personal trainer? Do you need a dietitian? What do you need? Or if it's in your business, what do you need? Do you need a VA? Do you need marketing help? Do you need a business development manager? What do you need in order to hit these big goals that you're looking to hit? So that's kind of the purpose for it, is that you forget about your own natural abilities and your skill sets to be able to do things, in your own life. You just go ahead and get stuff done. But once you're in a group of other women, and I don't care, if the guys want to join, great, I'll invite the guys along too. That doesn't bother me. If we've got to set up another one that's just for the guys, then we'll do that too. But it's more about everybody brings amazing God-given talents to the table, and we're scratching the surface. We're thinking so small, so limited in our capacity, that it literally takes one conversation for someone to then go, oh yeah, I know somebody who could help you out with that, not a problem, let me connect you up, right? And it could be that, like in previous versions of this course that I did nearly 2 weeks ago, one table did $2.2 billion, because it's all just energy, right? It's zeros, and it's your perspective on it. But we created the most money out of the whole room. Some people created brand new businesses out of it and went and sold, the concept of brand new businesses. Some people were selling workshops and retreats. Another two groups combined, because one fellow here builds tiny homes. So they were selling the concepts of selling tiny homes, because we have a complete housing shortage here in Western Australia, where we're only building at 50% of the capacity that we need. So their solution is tiny homes, to be able to bring, grandma in, to bring, adult kids back to the nest, you know, because to find rental accommodation or even just to buy a property here in Perth, it's kind of the quick and the dead. And the prices are skyrocketing. You know, it's a space to make money here at the moment. So that was a reason why we were sort of endeavoring to, you know, help people, and the guys that are doing the tiny homes are doing, you know, great work because they're endeavoring to create safe spaces for people to land, you know, because there's heaps of people here in WA who are living in campsites and in their cars, and you know, the homelessness crisis here is pretty bad, and particularly for women around my age bracket too. For women in their 50s plus who've gone through separation and divorce, and, you know, got the raw end of the stick and couldn't afford a lawyer, and, you know, it's from the usual frame, got screwed over. But now that I'm starting to look at the way I see things, is they've been given an opportunity. But it's dependent, you know, it is really dependent on how you see it. You know, because they kept asking us, like, if we dumped you in the middle of the city with the clothes on your back, no money, nowhere to live, no shoes, no transportation, could you get yourself a meal for nothing? You know, like, could you share your story and ask someone to buy you a meal? You know, do you see value? You know, and this is the whole concept of, do you see value in the story of your life and what that could provide for somebody else, the learnings that you've taken away from however many years you've been on the planet? How can that have an impact on somebody else? We had to go and do an exercise where we went out into the public and we asked a complete stranger some questions, and then saying, did those questions resonate for you too? And 100% of the time, the things that you would say or share provided impact for the person that you sat next to. So the story that you have to tell is not without merit, that there are people that you can be impacting, but by choosing to be closeted with your gifts and your talents and your knowledge, you're doing other people a disservice. You know, how did someone word it the other day? I saw something that said, an apple tree doesn't produce apples for itself. It produces apples to share. You know, so if you're the apple tree and you're producing all of this bountiful harvest, and you're letting your harvest drop on the floor and rot, then you're wasting your gifts and your talents completely. You know, and I would be the first person to put my hand up and say, I've done that. I've probably done that for the last 3 years. Good. You know, apart from this platform where you and I have had fun on it, but we've still done it in small degrees, because God bless you, you've been exceptionally patient with my crap. But now it's like, no, you know, this is legacy for the people that come from us. You know, in later years, you know, we had to write out 1,000-year life plan, what we wanted. And it was like, how do I wish to be known, not only by the people that come from me and, you know, the 10 generations after that, plus more, you know, the 20 generations that would come from, how would I want to be known? You know, and it provides some really interesting food for thought, and particularly because we're moving into this, you know, enlightened age of Aquarius, you know, where we can see that the last bastions of, you know, this era that we've been in, this dark ages where there's been this control and, you know, this absolute need for the people to believe in the crap that we're dishing out. And now, you know, it's part of, I think it's part of my mission, and it's also probably part of yours, to provide enlightenment for people to see that they're more than sheep in a paddock. But, you know, we're never going to convince everybody, and we're never going to convince everybody to take the red pill of life and to go, well, I've got some amazing skills and I'm wasting them, you know, or I could be doing so much more with my life, but I'm rooted in fear and distrust. And, you know, how do I break free from that? How do I dip my toe in the water? And my good friend will love me, because I'm going to chuck it in here, because I've sent it to him a couple of times, surrendering to the process. And I don't balk at it anymore. Like there's no shift in the energy when we say that word anymore. And there's no desire to want to stick my middle finger up at my best friend and say, fuck you, because I won't. It's just surrendering. And do you know what? The level of peace and satisfaction that comes from that, and just to go, oh, Teen, really? You've sat here and you've had, you know, you've procrastinated and you've just didn't know where to start, I think was the biggest thing. But everything's divine timing. So as much as you could berate yourself over, could have done this, should have done that, would have done, it's all low level thinking. I don't want people to be motivated by what I do. I want people to be inspired by what I do. Motivated is still low level thinking, as much as it's trotted out by everybody. You know, I'm here to motivate people. Well, if you're here to motivate people, well, then you're actually motivating people for change, and change is not going to, change is something you have in your pocket. Change is not what we're here to do. We're here to help people transform their lives, you know, and transformation is on the higher level. Transformation means truly recognizing the person that you were before and going, thank you for all of that information, and thank you for protecting me, and thank you for taking care of me. However, I am now going to transform, and I'm going to be listening to this person that stands on this side of me, because they've already done it. It's already happened. They're just giving me little snippets to try and catch on to meet the right people to do all the things that I'm here to do. So that's why I need to be, or I feel that I need to be open. I've got to do more breath work, because, oh dear God, that is probably one of the most, I just remembered something I forgot to tell you. We did 3 breathwork sessions for the last 3 mornings. And on the last morning, Cam and I were in India, all decked out. Have a guess who married us? Lord Ganesha. Oh man, it was the most incredible thing ever. And the color and the flowers and the henna. And Cam said, did you have all the jewelry on? And I went, everything, everything. And it was beautiful. But then there was a vision of the kids working with children in India, and just the sheer joy and love was overwhelming, like tears. And on the first day after doing the breath work, have a guess what song came on? the surrender song. And I sat, like, all these people are laying there. There's like 25 people laying there, and they're all kind of just coming out of their session. I am killing myself laughing, like absolutely bent over in the middle, laughing so incredibly hard. And I was just going, oh, you fucker. Because it
You're
was
well.
just,
You're
I
well.
knew, I could see you going, see, told you, see, told you, told you, told you. But look, honestly, it was the biggest week. It was probably one of the hardest weeks. I don't think I had an incredible amount of sleep. There was a lot of perturbation, like there's just this, felt like you were in a blender, like everything that you thought that you knew. And you know, it's not like I haven't touched personal development in the last nearly 20 years, because I had, but this was just next level, absolutely next level stuff. And just, there's a, I suppose, a quiet confidence in going, I know what I'm here to do, so it's fine. I don't have to question it. I don't have to put labels on it. I just know who I am. And I did it while I was there. Like, you know, sat and had a conversation with one woman, and I went, well, what about this, this, and this? And she was like, oh, shit. Never even thought about it like that. And it was just like, see, it's less than 30 minutes, right? And you can work your magic. So for me, understanding how I deliver my coaching to others, and particularly if I'm doing it in a one-on-one space, we're going to be 30-minute sessions. Like, you know, if you're coming in, there is nothing better than a quick and dirty session, getting in, getting it done, getting it sorted, and off you go. So apart from the accountability group that I'm setting up with my girlfriends, I will look to set that up for those that are following me online. There's going to be a business name change. There will be new graphics coming. I'm going to ask AI to help me out with that, because, you know, it's provided some brilliant stuff for the Divine Mess. So I will be doing that. So all of that sort of change will be happening over the Christmas holidays, but it's progress, not perfection. So we're just going to go out there and get started. So for anybody that is listening, if you would like to get in contact, I would like to offer my services, because the doors are open for 2025. But it's a qualifying process as well. It's not just a free for all. It's going to be very specific for specific people, because I don't believe, and I'm sure Dave is very much the same, I don't believe I'm taking clients on simply because it's a way of earning money. For me, it's about fit, and it's about understanding that my gifts and talents are meant for certain people. They're not meant for everybody. So it would just be a getting to know you conversation. And if I feel that there's a flow and there's an ability for someone to want to transform, then we're in business and we can have those conversations. So if all of the way in which I go about things is of interest to you, and you feel a calling to have a conversation, then please reach out to us. If you can't find me, I'm sure you'll find Dava, and he will point you in the right direction. I don't think it's too hard. But yeah, get in contact, because there's great work to be done. And if you want to work with both of us, then I'm sure we can work something out with that too. So, my dear friend, there you go. There's a quick and dirty download in 50 minutes of
It's a masterclass that you did. So thank you for that.
thank you. So that was the quick and there'll be more. There'll be more as it comes along, because you know when you're taking on literally a folder that thick worth of information, there's a lot to process, and there's still lots to process, and it's going to be ongoing work. That, you know, my hope is that by doing the work, it has a natural flow on effect for the people around me, and they don't necessarily have to do the work, they just have to be in the energy of it. And I'm looking forward to what's coming next.
Well, I'm looking forward to go to India now.
Yeah.
And for your honeymoon, it will be Mauritius, sponsored by Air Mauritius, of course.
Yes,
Just let
please.
me know.
Yes, yes,
So
please.
normally
Yes, please.
flight on from Perth on Wednesday and Sundays.
Wednesday and Sundays. Yes, I am well aware of the Air Mauritius timetable. So,
So we're just letting people know.
I
This
know.
has been specially sponsored by Emirates and Air India.
Yes, yes,
To
most definitely.
right.
Most
Emirates.
definitely. Yes. We will gladly negotiate with anybody who would love to sponsor our podcast and help us get our learnings further out into the community. But I think we can say with love and gratitude that if you found something today in my download from my time with all of my great new friends that I have made, that please feel free to share. Like if you think that someone is going to get something from today's episode, share it with, you know, those that are like-minded, or those that could do with a swift kick up the butt and need to make some transformative movements in their life, then we would be most grateful for that. Oh, and if you've got contacts with Air Mauritius or Emirates, and you know that they're looking to use some of their corporate dollars to sponsor good work in the community, we would love to have conversations with
Yeah.
them.
And thank you, Universe, for that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, because it's already done, because I've already written it in my mission statement that I have a golden ticket with
There you
Air
go.
Mauritius, and I never pay with Emirates and Air Mauritius, that I never pay for flights ever.
It's written now. See, you
Yeah,
have expanded. But thank
yeah,
you for today. You know, like it's beautiful when you go in training, you know, like on those personal development training and come back and you get to share and you say what you have applied.
yeah,
That's, I think, like the application of what you learned is more
yeah.
important.
Oh, definitely,
The
definitely.
application of what you learn, and now you see the infinite possibilities of
Yeah,
your mind and what you can achieve, and you have shared it with us, and I feel like they are beautiful nuggets. It's like one of those episodes where you'll go back and just listen or randomly click on, you know, the time like 11:11 or 13:13, whatever the time is, uh,
uh-huh,
on the timer, you know, while you're listening to it. And I feel that's how it's going to be. So
yeah.
definitely this is your masterclass today. And yeah, is there any, you know, like enlightening um sharing you have, or wisdom, piece of wisdom you want to finish off, you know?
Oh, it's an interesting thing, you know, it's an interesting thing when you come back to that point, is you all of this, and I think you said it from the beginning, all of this has created a remembrance for me, but it's also that level of confidence I can walk out into any given situation, and nothing
Face you.
distresses me
Mm.
anymore. because I understand the power of my own energy and how I stay in alignment with myself. I don't have those, oh, does he still like me? Does he still find me attractive? Do my kids like me? Do my
Okay. Yeah.
And because I went through the whole process 2 weeks ago of, if it's just me again, can I live like that?
Mm.
And the answer is yes, I can. I choose not to, but the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You know, as painful as it would be for having to start again in any respect of my life, I know I can do it.
Mm.
So that in itself gives you a great level of confidence and the ability to surrender into where you are now, because this is where I'm meant to be. This is the man I'm meant to be doing it with. And I watched him night before. It was my son's 17th birthday. I watched him deliver a masterclass to a 23-year-old boy sitting at the table
Mm.
on his money, on the people that he was choosing to spend time with, on the infinite possibilities of his life. And I'm just going, I know I went and did the class. I know you didn't, but
That's how energy works.
it was a masterclass in watching him and watching him light up like a Christmas tree, being it's that time of the year. But anyway, but watching him light up and delivering that, and I'm going, that's where you need to be. But I'll just let you discover that in your own time, just let him fill up a little bit on that. But it's like that's what we are makers of men. That's our thing. That's, through our men and through their friends and whoever comes into our home. That's kind of why we're here, to make good men
Mm.
that live well on this planet, that do great things,
Yeah.
that believe in themselves. And I think that's the greatest gift that you can give a child, irrespective of their age.
Well, thank you for sharing that piece of wisdom. It's not just men as well. It's like the masculine energy overall, like the whole world can benefit from that, like the healed one, not the wounded one, just taking action. Because from what you shared is like for groups to create that kind of money, like just one example, it's inspired action. Like you said, it's not about motivation. It's like not being motivated by the money, but by the service, being inspired by the service and to move
And the
forward.
excitement,
And,
that comes from it,
and
I think.
yeah, the buzz that the community creates.
Mm,
Or you're surrounded by those people because based on your sharing is like Jim Rohn said that you become the average of the 5 people you spend time with.
yeah.
So if you're spending time with billionaires or millionaires and they are buzzing like that, like this is what you created over 3 days. So imagine for 3 years or 3 months,
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
years
Well,
or
I've set some very
300.
lofty goals for 2025 in terms of how different our money situation will look at the end of next year.
Yeah.
And it's a little mind-blowing, but it's great. And I have no doubt that if I can create it in 3 days, I can create it in 12 months.
Yeah. And we have no doubts that you can create it in 12 minutes or 1.2 minutes, easily.
Oh, look, you know what? If a client wants to come to me and pay me $1 million for my time for next year, no problem. No
There you go.
problem whatsoever, because they will get value from it. And I know that now.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing, because you doubt your
Yeah.
ability to provide a level of value. But I know that they would get that and 10 times more,
Yeah. And
you know.
And I think it's a beautiful reminder for everyone out there. Like, if you have been living in the spiritual closet, like and has not come out with your gift, like you said earlier, I think it's time to take that action. Just go out like Tina, even like just going to another coach if you feel like. So like we'll put her details in the episode, like and we'll share it. And I'm sure, like you heard today, like the value you will get out of it because it was just a snippet of 100 hours in like 50 minutes that practically, well, we know in quantum, my dad will correct me or not. That's possible. There's no time and space, but
Great.
we'll leave that lecture for another day.
Well, we'll ask Raven to come in for another day
Exactly.
and do
And
that
we'll
for
have a chat.
us. Yeah.
But but thank you for today. Really appreciate the sharing, the wisdom, and I'm looking forward to the wedding in India and the honeymoon. Well, we'll see what happened in Mauritius.
Just looking forward to it. So,
But thank you again. Uh, really appreciate the time. So I will keep the love to word for you. And thank you for everyone tuning in like every single week. And we are looking to bring more wisdom because now Tina have a masterclass to deliver like every single week. She said, "Oh yeah, yeah, there we
yes,
go."
yes, of course, no problem. I can do it from the seat of my trousers. Um, we would like to express our sincerest gratitude for your time today, which we understand is a very precious resource in today's society. So we love you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to having you on our next episode and the wisdom that myself and my friend can bring to your table. We love you. It's been great. And it's so fun to finally share all this good fun stuff with you all. So until next time, take very good care of yourselves and we look forward to hearing from you really soon. Ciao for now.
Thank you.